Good morning. Welcome to another installment of our virtual seminar Grove. We're very excited today because we are going to be talking about the Greenshow and some of the amazing performers and magic that goes behind the creation of that Greenshow. I want to thank our sponsors, Cedar City Brian Head Tourism Bureau, who make this possible. And Brian, why don't you tell us who we've got here today?
Yes, thank you, Michael. And yes, indeed, thank you, Cedar City Brian Head Tourism Bureau. You guys have been incredibly supportive for us. And I'm thrilled today, Michael, to have this panel on the Greenshow. As you know, I'm very fond of the Greenshow and have my own sort of history with the Greenshow. But today we are joined by three pillars within the Greenshow format. We're joined with Britannia Howe, who has been the director of our Greenshow the past few seasons, along with André, Spathelf-Sanders, who's been in the Greenshow a couple of years. and Daria Redus is here. All three amazing individuals and full of life, and we are very grateful that you are here. They're incredibly talented, and I'm very, very grateful for your time. And we're here to talk about the Greenshow.
Yay, Greenshow!
Yeah, I mean,
it's like a reunion.
Right?
It's a reunion.
Topic
Right?
of conversation.
Well, I do want to say, you know, one of the things that first I want to preface this whole thing by explaining what the Greenshow is for those viewers who actually may not know what the Greenshow is, because it is sort of a thing, you know, and I'm sure each of you experienced that. We're just like, what is the Greenshow? You know, the Greenshow here has been a tradition at the Utah Shakespeare Festival for, well, I think since its inception, really. It started with from Barbara Adams, Fred Adams' wife. And when Fred Adams founded the festival in 1962, he thought that we needed a pre-show entertainment that would showcase just sort of Elizabethan feeling to bring the plays and sort of kind of a show before the show. And it started off with madrigals, a magical group that was begun by Barbara and collecting people. And it has expanded into a show, which has been, has generated over the years and has gone through different variations. And has really kind of become a trademark for the Utah Shakespeare Festival. The Greenshow is its own unique piece of entertainment. And what I love about it is the people that have been in it, because I feel like it encapsulates multi-talented individuals and showcases both their ability as well as their individuality and spirit. And so that's a little bit of a background. I guess we can talk a little bit more as we go.
Thank God for Fred.
What's that?
So thank God for Fred.
I know, right? Yeah.
Well,
I
would love to know.
That's a great commentary, because I think, you know, it has also been a community type event. It's free to the public.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they don't necessarily have to go to the play that evening. They can come to the Greenshow. They can sit on the green. They can enjoy the performances. They can hear song and dance. And it's been a great sort of gift, I think, for the community in many ways. So yes, give props to Fred for that. Yeah. I want to show some photos. I'm going to embarrass him. I didn't tell him that it was going to happen, but here is Daria from the
yes!
And here is André with Sammy right there.
Dapper.
Yes, looking dapper and brilliant.
That Americana night.
Yes.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Memories.
So, I want to know.
Britannia. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I want to know when you first got your contract. So I'm primarily talking, you know, to André and Daria. When you got your contract to come to USF and it said you're going to be in a play, we all know what a musical is, but you're going to be in a Greenshow. What did you, before you got here, what did you think about that? What's your impression when you first come in?
Well, I had no idea what the Greenshow was, anything about it, kind of like Brian was saying. And I knew I was like paired with Big River. So I had no idea what the Greenshow was. And just being there with, I feel like the Greenshow is always made up of like the sweetest, kindest, most just ready and willing to work, and just people that just like to make theater and make theater for people, and, you know, do it for the families and do it for, it's like Brian said, it's free of charge, like just to bring the magic of theater to people. And that is the vibe you get in Greenshow rehearsals and the performances. Yeah.
Cool. André, when you saw that?
I definitely was like, I don't care. And I just kind of signed the contract. I obviously asked people that I knew who were in the Greenshow prior and was like, so explain this little Greenshow thing. And they were just like, it's kind of different every year. It just depends on like who's making it, who's choreographing it, what direction they want to go, and what plays they're doing. So I didn't really know. But I was excited.
I remember the very first day of rehearsal that we had this group and the group with both Daria and André. And after we even did a read-throughs of the script, because we have 3 different scripts, because there's 3 different nights that, we write and perform. They said, so what is this? And they're like, is it improv? Is it dance? Is it music? Is it skits? And I was like, yep, it's all of the above, but with the audience interaction. And it's not until I think that you do a couple performances that you really know what this like living
I would have to agree with that
thing is,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Just learning dance moves and learning songs and learning where I go and where I exit without really knowing what we were doing.
Mhm.
Someone's gonna see this someday, I guess.
And
Yeah.
it's just like any theatrical like experience, because you don't know what the audience is gonna like or not really take. So once we started getting audiences and we were like, oh, that's hilarious. Let's do more of that. Or you know what if we just move a little to the left? That's better. Like
That's right.
learning along the way.
Yeah.
So Britannia, I mean, as far as,
Yeah.
because Britannia, you've directed the Greenshow in the last couple of years, and also you've written the Greenshow. Can you give our audience just a little bit of insight into the creation of what this is? And you mentioned the idea that it's 3 shows, which that in itself is one thing, but can you just kind of give some of your ideas about how you approach doing the Greenshow? Obviously you have a history. When you first saw the Greenshow, what was that like? And just some of your thinking in how you structure each particular show. Can you give a little insight into that?
Yeah, my parents used to take me to the Greenshow when I was a little girl, and I don't remember specific shows. They kind of blend into maybe this energy of what the Greenshow should be and what it should feel like. Lots of music and a lot of audience participation. I remember there being magic and like live guitars and stuff like that. And so when I got the offer to do the Greenshow, I actually went to the library on SU campus, and I was able to look up a lot of the scripts that were written, and a lot of them are penned in a late Barbara's hands, which is, really beautiful that you're able to go and see that. And I wanted to just carry on what her vision of the show was, to create this environment and kind of this ambience of the show before you go into it. So even though it's a free show and you don't necessarily have to purchase tickets, I wanted to respect what the setting is for the outdoor shows, so the Ingolstadt shows. So that's kind of where I start. So this last, I guess I'll start with the first year. We did an Americana night because one of the shows were taking place in the early 1900s in America. And so we did an Americana night. We did a British Isles night because the setting was England, and we did Italian because it was Merchant of Venice and it took place in Italy. So that's kind of where it starts. And then we find music. I find the music. Then we bring in a choreographer and a music director and go from there. But I also really love to create skits and characters. So it's dialogue telling a story rather than now we are going to be singing this song, right? So it kind of just flows into each song or each number. They're usually 30 minutes long, lots of audience participation. So I always have a couple skits where we bring up audience members or we go to them. I do have some memories of these two that I hope to share sometime, some of my favorite moments of when they were here.
Well, let's go for it. Let's do it.
Okay.
Because my next question would be, how do you prepare? Because what Daria said is it takes a very special type of actor to be able to do this.
Totally.
And it also takes a very special rehearsal room to make that happen. So how do you create the environment that creates?
I am timid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do everything. We, rehearse in the mornings and we do it all. We do music rehearsal, we do a dance rehearsal, and then we do some type of exercise that will help them engage with the audience, or we do like skit and script work. And I would say that 80% of the script is written before we go into the rehearsal room, but then the actors are able to bring out that other 20%. So they have to tap, and they have to sing, and they have to dance, and they have to engage with the audience. But then I find out, like, André does ballet and he does tap, and he can write jokes for Russian night about, do you remember those jokes? I don't even remember them, but he wrote those jokes that then we use. Do you remember them?
Yes,
Hey,
it was.
tell me them.
I love my ballet partner, but sometimes she gives me so much attitude.
That's
and
right.
There's nothing I can do about it. I don't know. That's all I remember.
Yeah, and then
Just,
Daria.
like, ballet jokes.
Yeah, so then we add that to the show. We find out if people can juggle, then we add that, like Trey last year. And Daria, we found out that she did color guard, so she like twirls flags. And so she came out for British Isles night twirling an Irish flag.
I did.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, that idea of taking people's special skills, though, and implementing them into the show is very much sort of traditional, you know. In many ways, it sort of has kind of a vaudevillian sort of quality, and that aspect of, you know, of kind of everybody cumulatively coming together and showcasing their talents at any given time, and sort of writing that into the narrative is really great. I wanted to ask André and Daria, like, the idea, you know, both of you went to Otterbein University in Ohio. I'm very fond of Otterbein. I mean, we actually have a lot of graduates from Otterbein who've actually been in the Greenshow, and a lot of very successful otters, the Otterbein. So we have to give our props to Otterbein. It is an amazing program, but you know, one of the things I love about it is, you know, usually I'll get a package from Otterbein that has, you know, all the students, and there'll be these audition formats, and there'll be some, obviously, Shakespeare and singing, but then there'll be a little special skills sort of section a lot of times. So you get to see people dancing or juggling or doing sort of things that you don't usually see at any type of audition. And I found them so informative for me, and love it. And I'm really fond of the program because of the spirit of the program, which is so positive, and also it encompasses some really, really talented people, and multifaceted. What was that like for you each going to Otterbein? I mean, both incredible musical talent, both really solid actors, and all these incredible special skills. Was that formed for you because of your training at Otterbein? I mean, what was that like for you?
André, you go first.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff that I learned at Otterbein was just finding passion in what I do. I mean, I went to Otterbein and we danced 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I was like, I like dance, but I don't know, like, I'm a musical theater performer. I'm going to have to dance, so I might as well. And it turns out I love to dance. It's my passion.
André is an incredible dancer for everyone.
Totally.
Incredible.
But it's really, like, it's really influenced me to, like, go to a dance call or even send a dance video to Utah Shakes, which I wasn't going to do until my friend Abigail was like, no, like, that's something you definitely should do because it's a benefit to them and a benefit to you. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll try. And I mean, my favorite part of the Greenshow is quite literally the dancing. The first year, Americana Night, we did the Charleston. And that was the first time I've learned how to do a jump split. I mean, Greenshow has taught me and given so much that just kind of happened. And it's great. So yeah, Otterbein helped a lot.
Yeah, I agree with the fact that, you know, I think at Otterbein specifically, your education is what you make it and is what you want it to be. I had only really ever done musical theater before going to Otterbein, and I mean, but what is that? I mean, I was in high school, I was dabbling, I was, you know, but I was an acting major at Otterbein, but I still loved that I got to, you know, take dance, like André said, 5 days a week, take voice lessons every single week. You just get to pick and choose what you want your education to be. So you don't leave with necessarily the same skills as everybody else in your class, because you can pick and choose, how you want to leave the department. And I think Otterbein, I left there with a confidence that I would not have. I don't know how I would have found otherwise. Just trusting your journey. I think that it's really easy to get stuck in where am I supposed to be? I really wanted this job or whatever. And I remember the first year I auditioned for Utah Shakespeare Festival. I wanted to go there so bad. Didn't get in my junior year, but then I remember I came back again for senior year. And I'm not gonna lie, my entire class, all the seniors were like, why are you auditioning again? Like, the last year was your chance. And I was like, why aren't you guys auditioning again? And I remember it was like it felt like a dream come true when I found out that I was gonna be spending my summer in Utah. And it's indescribable, seriously, how much I love it out there. I was in the festival the first year, but I came back last year. I told my friends it was to see them, but it was really because I just love Utah. And I love the festival. I love watching the Greenshow. I love the main stage shows. I found literally my best friends at Utah Shakes. So yeah, and I wouldn't have been there without Otterbein and the training. So
wow, that's great. I do want to, and I warned Brian I would do this to him. I think people forget that. I think they, I had not heard that story, that you auditioned, didn't make it, and they said, well, you missed your chance, as opposed to audition on audition on audition. Brian Vaughn started out in the Greenshow. And Brian Vaughn didn't make his first audition either. He auditioned and he did not make it in. And when I tell that story, no, but we all grow, right? So Brian, is that story true?
That is true. And I want to preface the first part of this too by saying, now being on the other side of the table, when you're putting companies together, it's incredibly hard because first off, you see so many talented people, and sometimes it is just that, like, it just doesn't, sometimes it might not happen, and it might not be anything about the person. It might be just the variables or any given circumstance. There's so many variables. And I try to tell young actors that all the time, that sometimes it's actually not about you. It might be about some other thing that is so out of your control. But the main thing is to just keep at it, keep the spirit going and keep trying and sort of put it out there, and then what will be, and hopefully it will be, obviously. But, and it's so hard because you see so many talented people. And, but yeah, that happened to me for sure. I auditioned, I didn't get cast, and I was totally distraught, and and then literally 2 weeks before the festival started, somebody had dropped out, and then they called me, and but it was an incredible learning experience. And I know both of you mentioned that early on about the idea of you kind of don't know what to expect going in, and all of a sudden you're thrust into this thing, which is like, oh, this is like a play or a musical, and we're kind of putting these things together. It's obviously a script and a format, but it really evolves as you're inside it, and you also really don't know what it's like until that first moment where you're out there with the people and the audience. And I did want to ask that for you, like, what was that like? The first time you stepped out there and were like, holy crap, there's 700, now 1,000 people out here, and they're right there. Was that something that hit you in a way that you go, oh yeah, this is a big thing, big deal? Were you scared?
I would definitely say so. And it's what's weird is that it's different from performing on a main stage with a ton of audience members. I don't know if it's because of the lighting, you can just see everybody, you're about to interact, but it really did hit different, that first Greenshow performance. We're just used to, and because we had built it together too, of course Britannia brilliantly wrote it, but there were so many things that we finessed with what we could bring to the table and everything like that. And so it was like our little, our little baby, and just, it was hours. And so to share that with so many people right there, right in front of you, I don't know, for me, I remember being very nervous the first go around. You'd think it'd be a more chill experience, but I was nervous.
Cool.
Yeah.
André?
Yeah, no, terrified. Quite literally, we've been doing it. We run through it during the mornings. Like, some actors who are in like main stages, like at the Ingolstadt and stuff, will be walking their dogs or walking around with their children, and they'll stop by and we'll have like a little audience for like a split second, and then they'll carry on and we'll be like, that was nice for a split second. But when you when you are waiting behind that itty bitty plank of wood and you hear all the voices, all the children, and you're just waiting there and you're like, okay, when do we hear, when does Keaton go on? When is he out there? There's just this like shudder that like goes over you and you're like, oh, he's singing. Oh crap, we go on. Okay. And then you go on and you see all the faces and you just put on the mask of theater and you're just like bursting inside, but you're contained and you just feel just so, I don't know, it's just a beautiful feeling. It's like magic. Horrifying until it's not.
The Greenshow audience is like a very special kind of audience. And it's one I've never really performed for ever since, like just wide-eyed, just there wanting to just receive some, Tuesday night theater. Like they are just a very, very special kind of audience. So unbelievably supportive, just like always clapping, just they're just happy that you're there. And so it is literally just 30-40 minutes of fun because of the audience, I will say in part.
Tell me about, because Britannia creates those moments and you create those moments with that interaction, and you get a very different reactions from little ones. You have to pull them up on stage. You're dancing through with the Loch Ness Monster. I mean, multiple engagement opportunities, but there is a feeling you don't know what's going to happen because this third character was not at rehearsal and they behave differently. So share some of that, if you can remember.
One of my favorite memories is actually of André. So this was for Italian night. You know what story I'm going to tell? This was Italian night, and I had this amazing idea to build this gondola, this huge gondola for him to ride in with the oar, and he would ride through all the people, right? I didn't know it was going to like take him away. It was like a kite. Every time the wind blew, it like took him away and stuff. So he had to make sure he didn't like hit people because people were sitting so close together. But one night he sings while he has this gondola. Now that I say it out loud, I'm like, I can't believe I even thought this up. I put them through so much sometimes, but he was like, yes, okay. And he starts at the top of the hill and he's going down in this gondola and he's singing to like these women, and he goes over to this woman and this woman offers him popcorn, and he takes popcorn while he's singing and he eats the popcorn and finishes singing and makes his way up to the top of the stage. But sometimes he would ask people, and this was found just out on the green, not necessarily in the rehearsal room, he would ask little ones to take his oar and he would say, row for me. And so they would row and he would just follow them. And so that's one of my favorite memories of audience interaction that he just kind of ran away with. He's really good at that.
Yeah, he's certainly
was my favorite.
Right?
Yeah.
I miss that gondola. I think about it every day. If I could have, I would have rode back to South Bend in the gondola. Like, it was my favorite part of the Greenshow that year. And I would always love the kids who would take the pole and start going like, I don't know, anywhere but the stage. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're going this way. I love that journey for us. Let's keep going. It's great.
And still sing. And he was still able to sing and carry on.
Well, I think it's, if I can ask the next question, it has the Greenshow, the foundation, and I'm not sure, was Doug Baker your director, Brian?
He was not. It was the first year was not. It was Jeffrey Ingman who directed me.
That's right.
Also in the Greenshow prior. He was a Greenshow performer, and then he became a director of it.
That's right. There's been a legacy of really wonderful directors who have built that interaction. And I get approached all the time by patrons. They may be sharing these comments on Facebook, we don't know, about their Greenshow interactions, and they take those, they treasure those, they live those way. That becomes part of the fabric of USF, which I really think is, and Daria, you expressed this, that live theater that you don't get in other experiences, where the footlights and, you know, the moat separates you from other experiences, as opposed to those really kind of giving electric experiences that you have there. So my question is, how do you design that, Britannia? How do you figure out what's going to work and what doesn't work? And are there things that don't work that you go, you know, let's just speed through this one. This isn't going to work.
Yeah, there are things that don't work, and most of the time that's figured out in the rehearsal process, thank goodness, instead of in performance. And I think I think the way that works best, now that I've done it a few years now, is I know what songs are going to be chosen that fit within the show and the themes that we're trying to tell, and what skits we want. But it's best that we don't put them in a specific order until after we've learned it all. Because I will write a show and then I'll give it and we'll do it, and then we'll say, oh, well, now they need to put on their tap shoes. Okay, well, I need to write something right here. Or I could just put this song in right here. So like the order of events, that's one of the big challenges, is like, what's the order of events? Another thing that, if I could highlight Daria for a minute, I found that I was giving Daria all of the introductions. She just has this like engaging light about her. So I would just give her these lines. I was like, okay, Daria, now you introduce this. Now you introduce this. And I didn't realize that I was giving her everything to introduce. And then I realized one time when we did a run, she was like out of breath, but she was like making the best of it. And I was like, how you doing? And she's like, it'd be great if I had, you know, just a little bit more time. And so you have to write a little bit more. Right, Daria?
I had to put my tap shoes on.
Well, that's the other thing that I don't, people, unless you've played it, I don't think they realize the intensity of that 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, you know, even in a musical, you know, you got a break, you know, somebody's going to go sing an aria, somebody's going to do that, but you're, you know, and that is a really intense, you know, so as performers, how do you, I guess it's kind of like a marathon, you know, you train for that. The other thing that I just have to share, and Brian, you can chime in on this too, across the street, the ambiance and the sun is very different from this side of the street. And so you would rehearse in the morning across the street and it would just be so hot. And then in the evening, you've got this beautiful, cool, you know, but when we moved to our Ingolstadt setting, the morning is lovely because you're in the shade underneath the trees, but you got full on, you know, stage manager is lighting you with that full Cedar City sun all through there. So how do you prep as a performer for the marathon that you have to run there? or is that just a process that happens and you don't find out until, oh wow, the sun's over there now?
I genuinely think, and the best and most truthful answer I can give is that it literally just is what it is. Because since you know that the show must go on, we have to, even if we're really hot, you got to finish the number, you got to get ready for the next number. And I think that kind of like stamina with the elements kind of acting against you is only achieved and successfully achieved if you really want to be there. Like but seriously, if you don't have the love for the Green Show, just the understanding of why we're doing it, the hunger for it, the appreciation for, you know, what we're doing out there. I don't know. I think that it could start affecting you in that way, but I mean, it's almost just like rolling with the punches because it's something that you love. So you just had to deal. That's cool. All I can really say. Cool.
André?
Yeah, agreed. Definitely. Yeah, no, I don't think there's any way to prep for the sun because, you know, we haven't had like a beach green show where we wear sunglasses. So it's like, okay, well, the sun's going to be out. We're going to be wearing these like pretty thick costumes, except for Scotland and I, when we got to show a little chest and we got a little breeze in there. But other than that, it quite literally, if you're engaged in the audience, in the children, in the people, for me, I oftentimes forget about the sun, unless you're doing like the Koza choke and you're doing toe touches in a row and staring into the sun and going, it's okay. We're just gonna do Joseph after this and forget it. Like, there are moments, but they're far and few. Everything else, you're in it. You're not even thinking about it.
The stage managers also try and have water backstage. I don't know if they actually drink the water because I don't know if they have time to drink it, but we try to plan times for them to get a little break. And they have these coolies that they freeze
Oh, the
after the
coolies.
show. They can, when they run up to the Ingolstadt and they say goodbye and thank you for coming, that they put on their necks to try and cool them down.
Brian, can you talk a little bit about, and I hope that this conversation opens up to our patrons how difficult this is, the repertory, because not only are you doing Greenshow, but you're also casting the other plays as well with these performers. And we've had a couple requests from patrons asking, would you please do something on casting, how you do casting. So how do you find the magical people like these two are who have, and it's kind of a conversation between you and Britannia. So talk a little bit about how do you find the unique people who can do this and make that happen?
Well, and that's, it's year to year for one thing, because the demands are different every single year and the given circumstances are different every year. And I should say that the Greenshow works harder than anybody in this whole company, just like bar none. Their energy, the time, the commitment level is just the most, more intense than anybody else in the performing company aspect of that. And that's sort of the aspect of like, they're not only doing Greenshow, which is 3 shows really. And even though they're 40 minutes long, and that amounts to, essentially 1 show when you look at the time frame, they're all different. They're all different styles. They're all different genres. They all require a different way of thinking, different clothing, all of the things. It's a lot of time and energy. They're also in the main stage productions. Usually the Greenshow folds over into more often than not, they're folding over into the Greenshow, into the musical, because the musical highlights a lot of the same talent that is showcased in the Greenshow. And really it's about having the best people inside the musical also. Every now and then they can cross over into some of the Ingolstadt shows, just depending on any given circumstance. They're also understudying, so they're covering shows. On the nights where they don't have a musical sometimes, they're watching as an understudy to learn their material for the coverage there. And that is for a lot of the company, but the Greenshow's working, they're working a lot. And it is sort of like trial by fire in many ways. You're getting to do all these different facets of things. And it is tricky because the main thing is like the Greenshow component, that energy is not only the dynamic of the skill set, which would be singing and dancing or whatever else. It's also about finding a collective group of people who have this really, really engaging personality and demeanor and point of view. I think of that all the time, even just in casting, like more often than not, the first moment you meet someone is more important than the actual material that you're putting together, because you learn something about the individual. And because there's so much unique things that come with it, it's really about finding really cool people and really engaging people who can work together and are positive and they're willing and they're going to have each other's back and all those things. And that's hard to find in a 3-minute audition, and it's also hard to find it sometimes in the tape. But you do get it. You can see little inklings of that. And that to me is usually how I lead out more often than not than even the skill set. It's just like finding people who are really, really positive, engaging, full of life, and are fun because, and fun in the sense of like enjoying what they're doing and also spirited, also committed, also technically smart, also really multi-talented, but more often than not, what is going to lead out is the individual. The individual is the thing that people are going to walk away from. And especially in the Greenshow where you can't hide. You're out there. It's like so much of your personality begins to come through. And we've already had great examples of what makes these two so special in that regard, where they're just like rolling with the punches, taking the moment in front of you. I did mention the idea of like you hone your improv skills in many ways, because that's sort of like the yes and mentality. Take what's in front of you and make something happen with it, and that's hard to teach. And in many ways, again, it's the sort of trial by fire thing. Yeah. I do want to say something too, and I know I'm taking a lot of time and I'll try not to do that, but it is interesting. The sun thing has been a huge thing since we moved over to the Ingolstadt. And I want to preface this by saying the Greenshow stage currently was in a different location. That was actually going to be on the western side, more close to where the Seminar Grove is first. And Fred Adams is the person who said, no, I want to move the stage. He wanted to put the stage under the tree that was over there because he wanted that Greenshow feeling in the tree there. Little did we know, by moving it, all of a sudden it was like, oh, 7 o'clock at night, there's this sunset happening to the west that is impacting every performer, that all of a sudden in the morning, they're bright-eyed, and then in the evening, everybody is squinting because the sun is right in their eyes. And like a new house, like a new piece of property, even the festival, it's like, it's going to evolve over time. Eventually, those trees will hopefully grow up and they'll begin to shade the thing. But it threw everybody for a loop, and the performers, every time I see it, I'm like, oh my gosh, they must just hate us because they're just blinded by the sun. And I'm glad to hear that, André, you said, oh, you just make the most of it, you know what I mean? And after a while, you do forget about it. We're always very grateful for a hazy day out there.
Oh yeah, rain and cloud.
Yes.
That's
a little
right. I do want to ask, following up from what Brian just spoke about. So Britannia, what is your engagement with the audition process? And then once you find them and get them in the room, what are some of the things you do to build that ensemble?
Yeah, I really appreciate the way that Brian goes about this. He will ask me what the script is called for. And so like what kind of actors or dancers I need. So usually we have a tap number. Last year we didn't have a tap number, and we didn't have a tap number for one of the shows, and Fred came up to me and he was like, those actors are so talented. You need to have a tap number in every Greenshow. And I was like, okay, noted. That was like opening night. But sometimes Fred would like come and whisper in my ear of things that are needed, and I would gladly take those notes. But we have, I appreciate Brian and the way that we have our communication. I tell him what the needs are, what kind of dancing we're going to be doing for Russian night. You know, there was some difficult dancing, and it was pretty strenuous, right, André? And there's also ballet in there, and so has his eye open for that, in addition to the musical. So yeah, that's kind of how we do that. And then the way your question about how ensemble and being a team member is really important to me in the very beginning, just because all 8 actors are on stage the entire time, and it can be exhausting, and there's a lot of audience participation, and the demands are just really high. And so we start off by doing like group exercises together, and sometimes the actors will lead them. I remember André, he would have like this dance exercise that he would do with everybody to like current pop songs. That was really fun. But we'd also do exercises that would help. They're almost like clowning exercises that would help with audience participation. And so this is how you would react, and this is kind of training to, if you were in this situation, how you would respond to audience members in certain scenes. And that goes in the skits. And so we would relate that. How does this skit apply to this training, and how would we use it out on the Greenshow stage? Cool. Hope that answers your question.
Yep, absolutely. I want to remind those of you on Facebook that in a couple minutes, we're going to start opening it up to questions that you may have. So if you have any, feel free to put those in the comments, and we will pick those up for you too. I think it's important to talk about what they've been doing since the Greenshow. Brian, you want to ask Daria what she's been busy doing?
I think you just did.
Well, after Greenshow, I came back to the city to like officially start auditioning in New York. I did a production of Aida here in the city, and that was really fun. And then I did the SpongeBob musical tour, which was just in every way a dream come true can be, was a dream come true. COVID attacked it, but for a while it lasted, I would do it all over again and again and again.
Mm-hmm. And she was wonderful in it. I brought my family to it, and my kids just loved it, and I ate it up. She was wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, you said you were able to do about 130 performances. Is that correct?
Yeah.
160 through there too. Great. And André, we were fortunate to have you we would have had you the past 3 seasons, correct? Yes? What other things have you been engaged with as well?
Well, after the last season, I just came back home. I was like, okay, we just need to like be with family, find a nice winter job. So I started working at Lululemon. I was also giving dance lessons to some kids around, my area, just because my area is not really big on art or anything. And I'd love to share with like some kids and stuff. I assistant choreographed Pippin at my old high school. And then in the spring, I was going to choreograph Chicago, and I was going to be a part of a production of West Side Story.
Wow.
Wow.
At the Morse Performing Arts Center. But unfortunately, that was 2021. So, yeah, a lot of things got cut, but,
You roll with it.
we do what we do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Roll with
To
it.
roll with it.
Well, we've got some great questions coming in here. Brian, you want to lead off with that first one there?
Yeah, I was going to ask this first one, which is in the same vein of rolling with it, really. Anyways, Tanya asks, there's so much audience interaction in the Green Show. How do you handle it when you have an audience member who is either overly enthusiastic or someone won't play with you?
I think that the way the Green Show is structured gives us room to play with that, because it's just such a fun environment, and obviously like there are stakes because we are performing, but it's very calm. It's very low stakes, and so when you have someone who's super excited to be there, that's what I feel like feed off of. That's what we love. But if there's someone who doesn't want to do it, it's literally a matter of just, okay, and move on to the next person. The song's almost over. We just don't bring someone up that time. But it really is just a matter of, it really is, the ball is in the audience's court a lot of the time. And that is where improv comes in. But the way this show is structured and written kind of allows us to have that flexibility.
And Daria had a really good way about that. I remember her British Isles night. You have to think on the spot like a limerick or something. Is that what you had to do? And sometimes it was like she would come out. She had the best too. She's just like so quick and so smart when she'd have to like think of these rhymes and these poems. I challenged them to do this, and she does it like way better than I could even dream, or I can even do it. But she'll ask them, and she's like, okay, I'm ready to play. And if they're not ready to play, she's like, okay, I'm ready to play. She just like moves them out of the way, So it's like she has her own set of rules, and she does a really great way about doing it.
They're usually on board.
They're usually, yeah.
How about you, André?
The limerick thing just threw it on back. Yeah, I think there's so much room to play with either. There have been people during the games who are way hype, who are so excited. And I think Ian, my favorite to watch was Ian, because he'd be the first person to be like, whoa there, Tiger, calm down. But in a big joking way, and everybody would laugh and everybody would be a part of it. Like, there's that line where, yes, if you say that the wrong way, it could deter somebody, but we always find a way to make it fun. Like, no, we're in on this with you. Be excited. This is great. If you're not into it, it's okay. We do just like, slide to the left, slide to the right. Like there's always somebody who's willing to go and participate,
Totally.
Yeah.
The limerick thing is always a good little like safety net. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In case you have to vamp. I use this limerick all the time. I still use it. I learned it at the Green Show. There once was a poet named Simon who just couldn't think of any rhyming. He'd sit and he'd think, and his poems would stink because he just couldn't make the end sound the same. I use it all the time. There it is. Green Show techniques now.
And it still works.
30 years later, they still work.
Cool.
I want to ask this. Eric says, I was always amazed when I'd leave the Green Show and I'd see the same performers in the opening moments of the play that started 15 to 20 minutes later. I would love to hear some stories about that demanding process. It's very true. I mean, like, I want to hear about that because it's a trek. You know, you guys are running from, you finish one show, you're hyped up. The time and energy that you put in that 40-minute thing was just like, and then usually we'll run off to the Randall, run down stage. Give us some examples of that. First off, the first time you did it, and then also like, well, just tell us about it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I think gets, you get more comfortable with and better at with time. But I mean, literally we don't prance, we don't skip, we sprint to the next, to the next theater. Cause my year was Big River after the Green Show. And, we had to, it was crazy because you have to get to the next theater, then you have to take off all your Green Show stuff and your Green Show mic, and then put on your Big River mic and put on your Big River costume, and then you have your like 5 minutes to places, and you have to take off your crazy Green Show makeup, and my hair was a different way for Green Show, so I had to like quickly throw that back, and you don't really get to exhale until after the opening number when you're off stage. But it really is just like I think of it as part of the Green Show. Like when we're waving goodbye, the Green Show's not over. We're still going until we get to the next.
Like, come on into
Right.
the next theater.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool. André?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. And that's a good way to put it. The Green Show doesn't really end. It's like that same energy. You're literally sprinting into the next story. Yes, there's a brief time when you're really sweaty and trying to get clothes off and then put new clothes on, and then they're a little sweaty too, and the mic doesn't always stay and you have to dry off a little bit, but like it's all a part of the fun. And then you're excited to do another show because there's a whole new audience that might have just seen you, and they're gonna go, oh my gosh, that's like the Green Show person. And now they're
theater.
Yeah,
it's the magic of theater.
totally. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, I'll never forget that same thing. I mean, I had that too, and way back when, going from like sweating, at the end of that show, and then you start getting ready for the play, and I have to put on a fat suit. I have to put on a wig now on top of this, and you're just like, I can still feel it right now, just wet, and yeah, you don't get that break kind of until like the next little point in the moment of the play, where hopefully you can kind of breathe and try to make those, accommodate that a little bit, but sometimes it's tricky because the musicals often now there's ensemble at the top of the show, but it is challenging. Try not to make the show as challenging in the Green Show the night before too, because that's the other thing I was going to ask you both about, like the endurance factor of staying vocally prepared, the dynamics of being outside versus being inside. Can you give some examples of that? How it's a long run. You're also, you're at a high elevation. Did some of that stuff impact you when you first came here, like in your first season where you were discovering, it's the air is thinner here? Did that hit you?
Especially at first. Yeah, I remember the first few days of Green Show rehearsals. It was so hard to sing, and I was like, am I this bad? And then we would start dancing, and I'd like have to sit down, like, am I this out of shape? And I had to be reminded that no, it's the elevation. And so I think just with Green Show, you get the stamina you have to complete Green Show, run to the next, start the next, and sing hopefully well all throughout it. It takes a lot of just repetition. And so I think you get into really good physical shape, vocal shape doing Green Show, and pairing that with the main stage show, which sometimes is in like direct contrast when it comes to energy of the Green Show. So you have to make that switch too. Like going from Green Show to Big River is just light and fluffy to heavy and whoa. So I think you just get in good shape vocally and physically. That's how you do it.
Yeah, I remember the first because Christine Rowan was the choreographer our first year, and she just wanted to see like the different kind. She just wanted to see where we were in our dance, and I remember she taught us an itty combination, just a tap combination, and we get done tapping, and it's probably like 15 seconds, and we're like like huffing and puffing, and we're all looking at each other like, what is wrong with us? Like, we didn't do anything. And she was like, welcome to the elevation. So it's definitely rough, but after like doing it a couple of times, I mean, we were pros.
Cool.
Yeah. You always feel like a marathon runner when it's all, at the end of the season. I love hearing stories.
Yeah. Then you go back to your hometown where there's no elevation, and then you're singing like an angel. You got all this energy and stamina, and you can just go for hours.
Yeah.
Susan asks, and you've both kind of spoken about this, did your experiences doing the Green Show inform your performances on the main stage? And if so, how? You both spoke about how, it's a continuation of the show, but that Big River year was a kind of really special year, but two very, very, you come, was it Americana night that you were coming from? I'm not sure. I guess it changed.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
So did they inform one another? Were there things that you took away or you found refuge in as you did those shows?
Well, I guess what I think off the top of my head is that when you get to the main stage show, you are as warmed up as anyone can ever be.
Or more so, yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that Green Show gets you into the groove. It gets you kind of ready to perform. And since it's not, it's a lot in 40 minutes, but since it's not too long, it's almost just like a really intense, really thorough warm-up. So when you get to the main stage show, you are literally just ready to go. You don't need to do anything. You just hop on stage.
Cool. André?
Yeah, I second that completely. You are warm, you're warm. And we did a lot of singing in Big River, which, I think since we were so lit up and present, coming in and just falling into what we needed to do to tell a story was super easy because we were already there and present. So, yeah.
I do want to ask, and I love asking this question of everyone. If someone wants to be you, what advice would you give to them? I want to be on the path that Daria is on. I want to be on the path that Andre's on. I want to be on the path that Britannia has taken. What advice would you give someone who wants to work the Green Show or who wants to be a director? What would you advise them to do?
Wow. Someone who wants to be me.
I'd say,
I would say for me, it's the most important thing in my life, without getting too deep on a Thursday, is just trusting that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, and not just saying that to yourself, but like literally believing it, because I think it's so easy, especially in this profession as an actor, to get down, to hang on to those auditions that you submit for, because like they say, and it's real, for every 40 no's you hear a yes. Even more than 40, and so to be able to just go in there, and you really, really have to love, I believe, if Daria believes, that you have to love the hustle. You have to love the chase of getting the job just as much as you love actually performing and being in the job, because that's so much of what it is. And I really do believe that if you don't love that chase, then the performance just has to be, the job has to be the cherry on top. It can't be your all, because sometimes that doesn't come for a couple years. Sometimes you're employed and you're great and you're on tour, you're doing whatever, and then you sit for a few years and you're still in that chase, and you have to love it, or I unfortunately I think you might burn out.
Mm-hmm. Good. André?
Definitely, to be me or Britannia or Daria, you have to be you. That's base number one. Know it, live that, eat it up, because only you have the passion for the things you have passion for. And when we do Green Show, we're bringing our passions and the things we're good at and what we like to do to the table, along with just being happy humans and sharing art, theater, and love to people. And if you're willing to put in the work for that, to if you're not a dancer, go to your room, lock it, and just like do those moves over and over again. Because at the end of the day, you're going to go on stage, do those moves, and you're going to light somebody's world up. Even if you're like, well, I'm not a dancer, they're going to be like, that dancer's incredible. So get out of your head, do you, put in the work, and audition. Go for it.
Cool. Britannia?
Yeah, as a director specifically towards the Greenshow, I think just reading as much as you can, lots of different stories, and listening to lots of different music from different cultures. And then being humble before those stories, you know, like when you get a script, you're humble before it and you're like, what is this going to teach me? But you're also humble in front of these great performers too. You know, so like, what is André going to teach me? What is he going to give to this performance? What is Daria going to teach me? What are her talents that can give to this Greenshow? So I think it's about, being humble to the craft, you know, that's like being respectful to the craft too of what Greenshow is and the heart and the beauty of Greenshow and carrying on that tradition, but also to the stories that we want to tell and the people we want to tell it with and the people that we want to share it to. So it's being humble in front of the community too, you know, knowing who that community is, that Cedar City community, and building and writing shows that you won't see anywhere else. You'll just see at Utah Shakes. So it's
Cool. Great. Cool. Brian, you want to do that? You want to do that last question there?
Sure. Chris asks, what is coming up next for you? Which I know is a wacky question in the midst of our current world, in the world of COVID and all the living through a pandemic. But what is anything coming up for you? What are you working on currently? All of that.
start.
Yeah.
I'm currently going to school at Illinois State University. This is my second year getting my MFA in directing, and I have a production of Pipeline that will be a Zoom performance. So everybody watching is welcome to attend, and that starts October 23rd. This coming summer, I'll be back at Utah Shakes doing third year of Greenshow. Woo woo! And Cymbeline in the Ames Studio Theater.
Cool. Great.
I really can't say what is next, just because I have no idea when our industry is going to be an industry again. But I can say what I would like to do next. I loved being on tour. I would absolutely love to tour again, you know, while I'm young and I don't have any babies and my knees still work. I would love to just travel the world, do a show on the moon. Like, that would be incredible to do that again. Now with, you know, theater kind of paused, I've been like dabbling a little bit in TV and film, like trying to, you know, study that a bit more, and because it's a completely different beast. And so getting into those rooms has been interesting and new and fun. But yeah, I would love to tour again. And I will say this now, and I'll always say it, my heart is in Utah. My heart is in like Cedar City, but also at the festival. So I would always love to work there again.
Cool.
Wink, wink.
Yes. Yeah, again, same as Daria. Don't really know what's next right now. Still working at Lululemon. I started working at a gym where I have a cardio dance class that I'm going to be teaching at twice a week. So I'm getting my choreography chops in, keeping that health and fitness in check. And in the meantime, I mean, I've been working on my own choreography for something that I want to make later at some point whenever I want it to be a thing. But yeah, Utah is my first, last love.
Cool.
Can't wait to go back, whether it's to see a show or be in a show. So
we have a question from Facebook. They're asking, how do they see that Zoom performance, Britannia? Do you know how to, do we have that access on how to watch that?
Oh, that's wonderful. It will be up on the Illinois State Theater and Dance website,
Okay.
but it's not up there right now.
Okay, great, super.
Great way. I'm excited you're doing that. Check that out for sure.
Yeah,
it's so great to hear you guys say these things. I mean, I have to say, it's you know, just when we were talking about the idea about giving advice or the things for people to think of, it's nice to hear you give that advice, but then also to practice what you preach, in the sense that I know each of you are doing that, especially under the given circumstances that we're all in right now. still trying to be resourceful, still trying to learn, still trying to get better. And that's really awesome. And I think encouraging, you know, it's such a weird world. And, you know, I take away from this whole thing how lucky we are to have had you all here, and also giving so much of your life for our audiences here at the festival. And I can't wait for that opportunity to happen again, because I think it's a real window into how special each of you are, and what you bring to this life and our world. And it's pretty cool. The Greenshow does this, right? It brings us all these great people, which is really a celebration of our humanity and individuality and great talents. And it's so cool to see each of you embody that, not only in your talent, but in your being. And it's a beautiful thing. Thank you.
Yeah. I want to, in closing, I want to celebrate all those. I've been jogging my memory on the number of directors, and you can help, who have helped with the Greenshow. Obviously, we would not be here without Barbara Gaddy Adams, who brought it first. But past directors have been Josh Stavros, Jeff Ingman, great director, Doug Baker, Peter Sham. Others? Can you think of others?
Eric Stein.
Yes.
Julianne Palma, Kirsten Sham. This is bad. I'm gonna fit. Hang on. Give me a second. This is my age right here.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't gonna do it, and then I went, no.
Christopher Utley.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, Christopher Utley. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll comment. They'll jump on and say, hey.
Yeah, I'm like, I know.
It's a long legacy of really, really great, and celebration of the music and choreographers and everybody else who participated in that too.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really get into some of the evolution of the Greenshow, which I think is okay, but it's been so interesting to sort of take from those early years where it was sitting around, maybe doing some magic.
I think there's another conversation. We can talk about the history. We can grab, Christine Frezza and Virginia Stitt, and we can talk about those early days.
I remember seeing magic shows in my youth. That third stage had magic shows, or even the games too, like the Scottish games where you would throw things. There's that huge lawn.
Yep.
I remember when
storytellers, big puppets. Yeah. So
Falconer out there. Martin.
Yeah, Falconer. Yeah, I remember the puppet show too, and that third stage underneath the tree, the singers and the lute players and
yeah. So really wonderful. So thank you for representing. Thanks for being there. We're just really, really grateful for your passion and for your energy, and just thank you for joining us.
Thank you for getting us back together. I haven't seen their a reunion. It's been so nice.
I think this is a clear window into how special this is. All these people in one room together. You can get an idea of what that's like in the creative spirit of being in the Greenshow. So it's really cool. And
wonderful. Join us next week. We're really excited, and it continues. We're going to continue doing this all the way through the year so you can keep your festival vibe going. And we are going to be celebrating some people who we don't often get a chance to celebrate. So next week's title is, it's going to be really, really, really fun. Circuits, Transducers, and Lamps. Oh my. The Intricate World of Electrics. We're going to have Kate Morton, lighting supervisor, Adam Visconti, lead audio engineer, Ryan Turpin, audio supervisor, Danielle Davis, assistant electrics director, and we look forward to seeing all of you next week at 11 o'clock, hearing about those unsung heroes who make the sound and fury happen. So,
yay, sound and fury!
Thank you so much. Thank you, Cedar City, Brian Head Tourism Bureau, and this conversation will continue. All you need to do is go to bar.org, go to the bottom of the page where it says virtual seminar, click on that, and you have many, many others that you can watch there as well. Those are listed on our YouTube site, and we're looking forward to continued conversations on there that you can also talk about as well. Thank you very much. Daria, thank you.
If you come to the festival, do not miss the Greenshow, because it, for many people, sometimes is the first entry point into live theater. and it can make a difference. You see all these incredible performers, and also might get the bug to get inside this business. And
100%.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so very, very, very much.